Now, I have a long, unbroken speaking record at this conference, and probably the only person to beat that is Gregory Fisher. This conference holds significant importance by uniting stakeholders, corporate executives, and national and regional governmental leaders. Its purpose is to facilitate the exchange of information and explore current trends in capital markets, as well as emerging products and services within this sector. The goal is to expand the market and encourage increased participation. Today, I stand before you to share good news that Jamaica boasts the most favorable economic environment since gaining independence. We now have 10 consecutive quarters of economic growth since the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we had a long stretch of 20 consecutive quarters of economic growth. My government has established a solid track record for sustained growth. In fact, my administration has presided over the longest unbroken period of economic expansion since independence. And notice I'm not shy about saying my administration. Because everything else that is heaped on, I have to own it as well. So I claim the good. Unemployment is at a record low of 4.5%. That's the lowest in our history. Since taking over in 2016, my administration has created 146,700 new jobs. We are on target in terms of our debt to GDP reduction to now reduce our debt to GDP to 74% by the end of March 2024. This is well below pre-pandemic levels and the lowest in 25 years. Our credit ratings are now at the highest level they have ever been. In September 2023, S&P upgraded Jamaica's rating to BB-. Recall that we are coming from CCC rating, and that we spent a decade in the single B category, with the last 4 years at a single B+. For the last fiscal year, 2022-2023, Jamaica recorded, and this is the one that is most impressive for me, recorded a balance of payment surplus on our current account of US $352.4 million. The last time that Jamaica had a current account surplus, can anybody guess? 1966. Our net international reserves are now at a record high of US $4.75 billion as at the 31st of December 2023. We have created an environment of fiscal certainty with 8 consecutive budgets with no new taxes. Now, my script says inflation has been tamed and is trending down. But what I will say is inflation is trending down. and of course, of importance to all gathered here, falling inflation means that interest rates will soon follow. Yes, I hear the very loud whispers in the corridors of how businesses have been affected. The government is doing, in my estimation, an incredible balancing act because for a country like Jamaica, the devastation of inflation is very real for our population. And therefore, in the calculus of where would government policy come out, it has to come out on the side of ensuring that the population that is now just beginning to see benefits of the economic program, that they are not exposed to the devastating impact of inflation. As a result of this very positive economic environment, we are seeing unprecedented levels of investor interest in Jamaica. Global investors who in the past would have seen Jamaica as too risky are now taking serious interest. You know, just on the weekend, we broke ground for a $1.4 billion investment to build 4 towers of 28 stories each. That is a massive investment. And we have several other large investments of that magnitude to announce in the coming months. In November 2023, the government of Jamaica issued a Jamaican dollar-linked international bond in the amount of 46.6 billion Jamaican dollars, the equivalent of US $300 million. This is the first time in our history that Jamaica has been able to issue a Jamaica dollar-linked bond in the international capital market. This is a clear signal of confidence. Despite all of these economic achievements, we are not resting. I can assure you that my administration remains laser focused. And we are focused on 2 things. The first, how do we accelerate the level of our economic growth from 1 to 2% to 5 to 6%? That is the challenge. We have achieved, in my mind, the first stage, which is to ensure that growth is sustained. And I think we can safely say by the number of consecutive quarters of growth that we are able to sustain growth and that our growth is not erratic. And we have managed to do this by ensuring that we build in buffers and fiscal safeguards to ensure that we can recover quickly from shock. For most of our post-independence period, economic shocks, whether caused by global factors or by weather events, would set us back for several years, even for decades. The last big shock, the 2009 financial crisis, took us 10 years to get back to the GDP of 2009. Now, the last shock, which was the COVID-19 pandemic, we were able to recover very quickly. And not just recover, but recover stronger. The other major focus is on inclusive growth. Our vision for economic growth goes far beyond mere statistics. It is about creating opportunities for all. We will leave no one behind. We are focused on translating our economic success into tangible and inclusive economic gains that touch the life of every Jamaican. For most of our post-independence period, we have been caught in a vicious cycle of unsustainable spending, debt, and poverty. My government is focused on creating a virtuous cycle. of peace, productivity, and prosperity, where peace and productivity lead to greater prosperity for all, which in turn leads to greater peace and productivity. This is what we call the caring economy. So we're not just about growth and numbers. We all must recognize that growth is about people. And in a country like Jamaica, where historically the people have not always been at the center of the growth equation, this administration must always recognize the weight of the history and struggle of our people and ensure that as our economy begins to show the signs of sustained growth, that people are at the center of that growth. Our economy must care about people. So a part of this caring economy is how do we make the economy facilitate, support, endure peace. Peace has to be a consideration of the growing economy. Acknowledging this, we can report that we are making significant progress in sustainably addressing crime. We need to make more progress in addressing violence. Too often when we talk about crime and violence, we lump them together as one. Of course, they're probably two sides of the same coin, but they require two different strategies. You can deal with crime via policing, but you can't always deal with violence via policing. Other strategies have to be employed, and therefore we have to turn our economic resources to deal with violence, because violence has a significant drag effect on our economy. Violence has a significant impact on our productivity. And therefore, as we build this caring economy, we are going to be directing public resources to treat with this issue of violence. But for the record, as I address this audience, it is important to note that homicides are down by 7.8% in 2023 relative to 2022. And if we take the first 22 days of the year to represent the last 22 days of the year, if it follows through, for the first 22 days of 2024, murders are down 21% relative to the first 22 days of 2023. All serious crimes, homicides, shootings, rape, robbery, and break-ins are down 10.7%. This is the lowest in 22 years. So, yes. So we're definitely having an impact on crime, where we need to now start to have an even bigger impact is on this social phenomenon, this public health crisis of violence. So, in moving towards that, we have strengthened legislation. There's a new Firearms Act, we have a new Bail Act, and very soon we will make amendments to the penalties under the Offences Against the Persons Act, which will increase the mandatory minimum sentence for murder before being eligible for parole. We have greatly strengthened the capacity of our security forces. And I want to spend just a very short time to say, have you noticed that the investigative capacity of our security forces has increased significantly? Significantly. They are now bringing to our courts cases that before would have gone unsolved, and they're doing it in quite a rapid way, and I want to acknowledge the significant improvements in the JCF. We will continue our fight against crime, and we will also broaden our focus to treat with violence. This audience will immediately appreciate the point that I'm about to make. This is not the first time that the government of Jamaica has had to bring the resources of the state to treat with violence. Jamaica successfully conquered violence in our politics. In the 1970s and 80s, violence was a significant feature of our politics. But through legislative changes, institutional changes, and partnerships, we were able to form the Electoral Commission. We made changes to the Representation of the People's Act. We put in place an ombudsman and other measures, and we have conquered political violence. We have had at least 4 elections now, and there has been no taint of political violence. So we can do it. We can conquer social violence. We can conquer intimate partner violence. We can conquer domestic violence, providing that we can come together as a country in partnership to pass the necessary laws and to make the necessary allocations for social support to ensure that our people do not resort to violence as the first opportunity to resolve conflict. So I'm confident that we will be able to treat with this issue of violence. And once we do this, we're going to see an increase in our productivity. Now, as a result of our historic low unemployment rate, we are now faced with a new challenge. Angus mentioned it earlier. The truth is that the binding constraint on our economic growth is no longer the availability of capital. The binding constraint on our economic growth is labor. Well, put it in another way, the binding constraint on our economic growth right now is the availability of talent. Jamaica, through its history, has exported talent to overseas, to build other countries, to support other countries' economic growth. And now, with our economy starting to show signs, we need talent. It is very worrying to me that I have started a school tour to start to speak directly with those students who are about to transition from high school. I can't say to them, don't migrate, because migration is important for their exposure, for them to develop the talents that they have and gain the experience. But to put a kind of thinking in their minds that they can make it here in Jamaica as well. That even if they go, they're going to come right back. That is where your economy is right now. There's scarcely a business person that I speak to who does not say, Prime Minister, I cannot find people. let me stick to my script because I have another engagement. You want to draw me into all kinds of... So today I met with the Kingston Chamber of Commerce, and that was a part of the discussion. We have too long been a low wage, low growth economy. We acknowledge that. But you would also see that the government has made instrumental attempts and actions in doubling the minimum wage, engaging in a compensation review that moves a significant part of the labor force closer to market, all whilst trying to ensure that we manage wage inflation. It's a very complex equation. So it's a balancing act as we keep this economy moving forward steadily. Any erratic move can destabilize. So yes, recognize the low incentives that exist in the current wage profile of our economy, but that is changing. In our school tour, I've had to point out that growth can only take place when there is productivity increase. And every single Jamaican has to recognize their part, their role in increasing their own productivity. We have to encourage and support the development of a culture of productivity. And we're trying to support that emergence of the culture by putting in place, certainly that should come within the next 2 years, performance-based reward systems in the public service. And we encourage the private sector. I know many firms do that, but I think in this current era, all firms should have performance management systems in place. We're not taking it for granted that our young people will leave high school and automatically transition into the world of work. So we're spending almost $2 billion on the LIFT program, Learning and Investment for Transformation, under the Heart Trust NSTA. We have graduated this year 500 students under the LIFT program. They're all taken up into firms. Many of the firms are represented here, and that will ensure that there is seamless transition. Right? That's a strategy to make sure that we don't lose the talent. So these are sixth formers that we have made it possible for them to have internships in firms, so that the firms can start to make deliberate connections with them to keep them here. We have the Jamaica National Service Corps, where the Jamaica Defense Force trains almost 2,000 youngsters per year. Some of them will matriculate into the JDF, but the balance the significant remainder will be available to the labor market to support technical fields that are also crying for support. So the government understands the challenges that the economy faces, and we are putting in place the measures to ensure that growth continues in spite of those challenges. Now, as it relates to the stock market, I listened very carefully to Greg's both international and local analysis. And clearly I'm not an analyst, but I think that your analysis is spot on. We pay very close attention to what is happening in the United States. And your assessment that we are probably entering a period where rates could be stabilized and trend downwards, I think it's accurate. And we have the same perspective here in Jamaica. But the concern for inflation and the damage that inflation could do here is for us of greater significance than I suspect for the United States. So we will always be very cautious about inflation. We are happy to see that our inflation rate is edging back into our zone. And we have done what is necessary to cushion prices, particularly in critical areas such as transportation. And we will continue to monitor and be ready to respond if we see any significant threatening uptick in inflation. Now, I've heard comments being made regarding the Junior Stock Exchange and how important that is. I think it's important to remind persons that former Minister of Finance, Audley Shaw, could you say that he's the father of this? He was a big proponent and pushed very much for it, even when it was not considered to be wise to do it. It still remains our thinking. But we have to, as I said, make sure we balance everything very carefully. I know that we have already done some work on it, and I'm certain that the Minister of Finance is going to speak. I think he speaks tomorrow. I believe he will have some words to say. I didn't say what those words will be, but no, I think, as I said, after so many years of operations and it's shown good results, it could be a fillip for the stock market generally. And I think it's something we have to consider very carefully. I also think that the stock market can play a very important role in the development of our small businesses, you know, quite apart from the Junior Stock Exchange, but the level of support you give and coaching and mentorship you give to businesses. And I think it is in that area that greater exploration needs to take place as to how government can partner with the stock exchange to help with the development of small businesses, not just from the equity side of financing it, but from the business development side. And I think, Marlene, that is an area that I'm very much open to discussions, certainly with the DBJ and yourself. So with those remarks, you have been the beneficiary of my abbreviated presentation this year. It is always a great pleasure to address this audience. It sets the tone. And I know, you know, the market is in a little bit of depression right now. But as you have said, Gregory, it is part of the business cycle. And the market will come out of it, and the government stands ready to support in any way we can. God bless you, and thank you.
PM, just one second, please. Yeah, we could just hold you just for 1 minute, exactly as we couldn't let you go empty-handed, okay? So we have a presentation for you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, PM, thank you so much for making the time to share with us. And may we ask you to just remain standing just for a moment while the PM leaves. Thank you again, PM. A caring economy with people at the center. We welcome that. Okay. All right. So, you know, entertainment plays a significant role in any economy. I mean, just look at the impact our artists have had globally and the amount of revenue that Jamaica has benefited from as a result of the work and contributions they have made. As we speak, as we speak, another major artist, a son of the soil, is making waves with a new movie that's about to be unleashed on the world, bringing more inflows of visitors to this country, adding to our economy. I'm speaking of the Bob Marley movie, of course. Now, we recognize the value of entertainment here at the conference, and so we have selected one of our amazing entertainers. This is someone who I always have time to listen to because he's always so electrifying and dazzling and engaging. I'm speaking of my very good friend who will now just take us through a few moments of pleasure with what he does best. Please help me welcome my good friend, Mr. Dwight Richards.
Mr. Music play. Good evening, everyone. I am waiting on the music. I'm waiting on the music. I'm waiting on the music. I'm waiting on the music. Mr. Music, play, play. Oh, Mr. Music, play. Oh, Mr. Music, play. Thank you. All that trumpet playing was just something off my head top. So, are you ready now to do it? You can get it if you really want. Help me sing now. You can get it if you really want. Oh, there we go. You can get it if you really want. You've got to try, 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 and try. Now you succeed at last. Persecution you must bear. Win or lose, you got to get your share. You've got your mind set on this dream. Oh, Mr. Music, are you ready for me? Everybody, you can get it if you really want. Let's go now. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You've got to try. Try and try, try and try. You succeed at. Here we go now. How you feeling? You feeling good? Let's play. Isn't it strange how princesses and kings in sawdust ringing. It's like common people like you and me will be builders for Jamaica, yeah. Each is given the bag of tools, shapeless maps, and the book of the rules. Stumbling black on a stepping stone. It's like common people like you and me, baby, builders for eternity now. Each is given the bag of tools, shapeless maps, and the book of the rules. Let me hear you now. Power, power, power. Wanna sound very soft. Pow, 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 pow. Ah, yeah. Pow, 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 pow. Ah, na, 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 na. Pow, 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 pow. Pow, 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 pow. It's like common people like you and me. Each is given the bag of tools, shapeless maps, and the book of the rules. Just one more one. Everybody here, one more time. Here we go. Now, power, power, power. Let's strike it. Power, 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 yeah. Power, 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 yeah. The next song, sir, I have 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Come on, give me some hands. Give me some hands. Come on. Give me some hands, please. There we go. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. Oh, yeah. I can see all the obstacles in my way. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gone are the dark clouds, every blinding is gonna be bright, oh bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be bright, oh bright, 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 sunshiny day. sizes. 2024, new strategy. There's nothing but room now. The rain is gone, and I can see all obstacles in my way, in my way. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. 2024, gonna be bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. No, I believe, yes, sun comes out tomorrow, sun comes out tomorrow, tomorrow. Sun comes out tomorrow, sun comes out tomorrow. Thanks for having me. Do I return? Sunshiny day, oh Lord, gonna be bright, oh bright, sunshiny day, yeah, sunshiny day, yeah.
You know, of the many good things about music, one thing is for sure, when it hits, you feel no pain. You feel nice, don't you? Yeah. One more time for my good friend, Mr. Dwight Richards. Okay, so as sophisticated people, you know that innovation plays a crucial role in driving growth and development in capital markets, right? It's not just a buzzword. It's a fundamental driver of progress and success in capital markets. And with some thought-provoking ideas on the topic, please welcome our next speaker, Chairman of the JSE, Julian Mayer.
Good evening, all. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to another staging of our annual conference. It's become, a staple on the calendar of the industry, and that wasn't always the case, Once upon a time, we used to be competing with Euro Money and Latin Finance and everybody, and this is it. This is our staple. This is it. And Marlene, congrats to you, Neville and the team, in continuing to build this from strength to strength. So we do love that. So, look, the topic you heard Michael speak about, that's now what I'm speaking about. And if you've been here before, you'll know that that's a trend. We get these topics and they may or may not connect with me personally. And the only thing you can get is what connects at the time. So far, we've had Angus speak about regional markets. I appreciate that. Greg speak about international markets. The PM speak more directly about Jamaica and where we are at. None of those things, therefore, need to be covered in any real detail. What I think that I really want to talk about is the story. We sit here tonight, down the road, in Crossroads at the Caribbean, there's a Bob Marley movie, One Love, that's happening. And I love your attendance here. I know it means you were not invited. So I want to understand something about Bob Marley. Potentially the greatest musician ever. Musical artist, that is, ever. A son of the soil, a humble man, a man who sang and was heard across the world. Regardless of race, religion, creed, language, that didn't matter. If you're frequent to Jamaica, or if you are a Jamaican, you know that seeing a Japanese Rasta man or a German one is not something that is uncommon. His message permeated. And it's still being quoted right now by so many world leaders, including Bobby's own Nehemiah, who regularly references Bob's words. This humble man caused the globe to need to understand his story. And people flew here, spent a lot of time and a lot of money, spoke to all the living that they could, went to the places that he lived to understand his story. And we have a reflection of it today. His family was a part of it, so let's expect that to the largest extent, it's a fairly accurate reflection. People will understand his story and what led to the man that we're still here celebrating. And I hope nobody thinks I'm rude, but Guardian Group. Shh. So, when I stood here, when I sat tonight and I listened to the comments being made about the growth of Jamaica, where we're positioned now on the rating scale, where we're positioned as far as growth, this is an amazing, amazing scenario. And I absolutely am blown away and so proud to be here this evening, to be a part of it. But none of us sing. Nobody jumped on a plane to come here to understand the complete story. And if you don't understand the complete story, then the chances are those countries who would want to emulate it are going to find themselves with insufficient information to do so. That's where it gets dangerous. So the humble man, Bob Marley, and we love humble. We absolutely regard that at a very high level. People must operate that way. Now I know, of course, standing on stage and saying whatever I want may not appear to be that guy. But nonetheless, those are the traits that we truly do hold in the highest regard. And this has led the story of the role of the capital markets in the Jamaican success story never to be told. And that's a dangerous reality. We do have our peers, and I know I mentioned Mia a while ago, a wonderful leader out of Barbados. She similarly would have considered restructuring. She would have grabbed the tools that appeared public, IMF, International Bank, she's good to go. This is how it works. The risk here is that the rest of the story was never told. And it's our duty to recognize when being humble is misplaced. When this is not a matter of being humble, when this is actually a necessity, when it is the Jamaican story is being told. So I want to share with you, what is that story? That story is one that has zero regard for race, ethnic background, political alignment. That story is the true Jamaican out of many one people story. It's one of the most beautiful stories you'll ever hear. I see our past FS here, and always a pleasure to see you, sir. And you, of course, can attest to all of the foolishness I'm about to say that's never been said. So, the Jamaican capital market has been a key partner from concept to growth. The Jamaican capital market saw that Jamaica could be better than it was a long time ago and would have played its role during a time when the government was competing with the central bank for funding. My first trade, and I'll age myself here, potentially the grade does it already, but my first trade was at 48.31% trade in GOJ debt. 48.31, I'll never forget it. That's your risk-free rate. Any corporates are above that. We knew we couldn't sustain that. That wasn't a good scenario. It was a competition of the capital markets democratizing access to these opportunities in investment that caused interest rates to move downwards. This is a part of the story. Part of the role of the capital markets in making efficient and less costly access to funding for the government and therefore the rest of the country. Of course, at that time, we'd have seen 40% and 30% interest rates being par for the course. All that money going out and the 25% withholding tax and never coming back to the country. It's the capital markets that would have designed a withholding tax at source because we weren't prescribed entities. We couldn't withhold. This mechanism caused money to go back into the government's coffers and stabilize our economy, and this is just about 2000. When we hit 2002, and we had run with it, fiscal got blown out, everybody thought Jamaica was now dead. The capital markets got together, along with other players in the sector, across the economy, created Partnership for Progress. And if you weren't a part of it, you don't know the name, because it was never publicized. But it was one of the largest groupings of diverse industries ever to sit in a room together. And they sat down and decided, we all sat down and decided, what we would give up for the potential of the Jamaica that we know can occur. Because we talk so much, in this case, a presentation was made at a conference in Miami, and somebody went and told him about Partnership for Progress. The market said, are these people crazy? Capitalists are going to backstop the government who seems intent to fail. All of a sudden, interest rates went from the early 2003, interest rates jumped from 14% to 28% overnight. That's February. That was, we can never forget that. Immediately following that, we went back down interest rates. Again, a capital market solution you may never know, and this of course taught everybody, don't sell your plan before you get the buy-in on it, right? So the plan when it got the buy-in was your 2013 version with the establishment of EPOC. And one of the things that you look at when you look at the 2019 study from the IMF on Jamaica, it said Jamaica, the power of partnership and ownership. Very central to that paper is the fact that Jamaica, across the board, we own the plan. And this is what transpires to the successful plan that we experienced. So, I know I started off about Bob. And again, I know I also said that you guys can't sing. But I know I can't sing. But across the room here, we have people that dedicate to their intellectual capacity and also their capital to create the Jamaica that we now speak about. And it's important that we talk about it and document it, because just like Barbados thinking that they could replicate maybe our successes, there are at least 20 other countries across the world that are looking at this Jamaican success story. As Financial Times said it, everybody was betting on us to fail. People still don't know why we didn't. Because we didn't tell the story. As a country, as a nation, you have to own your success. And you have to sit down, because you know it better than anybody else, and say, these are how the pieces fit together in my scenario, and with this, we'll be able to do it in a sustainable way. From concept to growth, it was a wild concept that beyond political parties who look on a 4-year cycle, that we as a private sector could play a role in centering fiscal responsibility. We could play a role in making Jamaica move to a more stable place where Vision 2030 is not just words, but something that we believe that we can actually attain. And we have heroes in this crowd. Again, you're not singers, we're not going to look for you. But you dedicated your time, you dedicated your expertise, and you dedicated your capital, and you did some amazing work. And I do want to applaud the members of the capital markets of Jamaica as being a central part in our success. We go beyond that. And I know the PM has spoken and they're still serving drinks outside, so we're about to get there. 2008, the world fell apart. Fell apart. People sold what they could sell. I'm not selling your credit because I don't like it. I'm selling it because I have a problem with this other credit and nobody wants it. So I'm selling yours because I need the liquidity. I need to solve margin calls. I need to reduce correlated risk. I need to do all of these things. This was 2008. Jamaican bonds started gapping. Moved from 120 thereabouts down to par. By the time we checked it out, a few months in, we were at maybe 60 cents on the dollar, people testing the market for a bid. Wanted to know if there's a price at which I can move 5 million bonds. That gapping, as much as trades were limited, that gapping represented the value that each institution holding those bonds would have to hold it on their balance sheet. As an economy, we were wiped out. As far as a sector, we were wiped out. The capital wasn't there. So much bonds are sitting in Jamaica, and they just lost 50% of the value. Billions of US dollars. So not that they actually went insolvent, but the fact is capital would have been so constrained that the financial sector wouldn't have the capital to be able to continue to provide credit to the country. The financial sector, the small component called the capital markets, the grouping called the JSD sat down. We crafted probably what for me is maybe the greatest trade ever done in EM. We created a trade called a short squeeze, where anybody on Wall Street that lent money against GOJ bonds, any bond sitting on a margin account that could be lent out to people who may want to sell it to create CDSs or anything else, anybody who is fueling this ratcheting down because we knew it wasn't the local selling, we said, you know what, move the bonds back to an account that doesn't provide the ability for the securities to be lent. And therefore, anybody who would have sold had to now buy them back to deliver them. We didn't have the liquidity in the country to defend our curve. We caused the rest of the international market to defend it for us. And they delivered the entire portfolio of GOJs held by Jamaicans institutions into the central bank's account, who provided us the funding to support it. Some people thought it was a bailout by the central bank because subsequent governors may have misrepresented it. It was a cauterization of the ability of anybody internationally to short our bonds. For sure, the greatest trade ever. The minute the bond trade was done, Jamaica decoupled from the rest of the EM curve. Greg can attest. I know you said you're not a trader, you didn't get burned. But people on the street, I'm sure, cussing. So immediately, our bond prices hit the floor and ratcheted right back up to a level that was comparable to where it was trading before. A little inside of it, of course, for the risk premium that would now have been associated. But nonetheless, complete decoupling from the rest of emerging market bonds. This is the private sector, the capital markets, the security dealers. This is who is sitting in the crowd. And this is also working with the central bank. So again, working together collaboratively to create from concept to growth. Because for sure, the outcome of 2008 would have hurt a lot more if the financial sector didn't have the capital to recover. We move on, 2010. the industry would have sat down and worked out a JDX, a debt exchange. We knew the situation wasn't sustainable. There's no way. The government couldn't carry this. Again, we've shown consistency. If we have a bad credit as a government, we have a bad economy. That's more risk than any of us want. So the industry designed a debt exchange. Executed, yes, by an international bank, but designed here very much by the players who understood how each of those pricings would impact us and how we could actually manage it and ensure that international markets didn't get defaulted on, because if it did, the country would have lost access to capital that was necessary. That would have started the positive trajectory of the country as far as the fiscal goes. We would have supported again on the NDX to try and make that one work. What I want to tell you, and the big message here, because all of this is news, unless you are at the table. And those at the table, again, I've seen a number of you tonight, and it's always my pleasure to see you. But you know you can't sing. Nobody is coming here to go and find out your story. So at the moment, I will do the singing for you. The work is not done. The Prime Minister made a statement that our recovery is still fragile. We still have a critical role to play. We understand the moving parts better than any other, including the best intended IMF experts. It is our duty to continue to ensure that whatever program is engaged in is one that will work for our people. And that is a massive mandate that we must never put down. This story of recovery is one that should not, firstly, ever be given a chance to go in the wrong direction. We own it. We bought it with our capital. We bought it with our expertise. And we want to ensure that it continues into the future so that, as the Prime Minister said, we can build an economy that helps to uplift all. I do want you to understand that none of this is easy. This sort of work may take you years. It may take you into meetings where people don't want to meet with you. They already have preconceived notions of what you're thinking about. But it's very much the same as when you get into the corporate. So I want us to be true. True with the challenges so that we can solve them. And let's be very true and honest when it is that we're supporting entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, be true and honest when you're talking to those that see you as role models. Let them know it's hard. Let them know that there are many, many changes that need to occur. That the vision you may have had as to where you're going, guess what? You got there, but you didn't take the same road you had planned the entire way. Being honest with the challenges. Being honest with the fact that you have to be nimble. Your mind must be open to the possibilities. And you alter your course where needed to ensure that you get to where it is that you're going. That will help to ensure that we can continue to be as relevant to the entrepreneurs of tomorrow as we've been of the entrepreneurs of the past. And it will ensure that this capital markets conference, its 19th year, will be stronger in its 20th and beyond. So everybody, I know drinks are being served. They shouldn't do that. They should cause everybody to come inside first, right? So they shouldn't do that. But anyway, drinks are being served, and I believe this may be the wrap-up, but I will pass over to Michael Anthony Cuff. I welcome you again to the 19th Annual Conference of the JSE.
Thank you so much, Chairman Mayor.